Come here. Come here and say hello to everybody. Come on. How you been? Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to my live stream on YouTube. Which I talk about interesting topics most people don't even talk about. But of course, if you have any comments, questions, insults, or roast, put it down below. Okay, I may sound like I'm rapping and shit, but I'm really not rapping. Am I rapping? My second daughter is so cute. I don't even know how my second daughter was born, but if it finds out that she cheated or creeped around, she's dead. She's dead. Let that sink in your head. But other than that, I digress here. We could talk about two different topics today. I suppose I have a friend who wanted to start this stream. So, of course, today's topic will be about Richard Spencer. Richard Spencer and Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X and what they have in common for this race war thing, because I really don't want to keep talking about race wars too much. But of course, he has entered the dominion of the Emerald Pale King. And of course, welcome to you, Naroki5. I will post your information after this chat is over. How have you been? Can you hear me, Ted?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. I'm using I'm just using my YouTube account. I didn't even know about this particular site. I'm going to have to take a look at it after
let me tell you something right now, to help you out with a lot of things and information. Please understand, I'm doing research on different StreamYards. That's my daughter in the background. Hey, what I say? There's many different StreamYards out there, but everyone's going to be using the mobile. So, okay, most people have their mobile in their hand, so they want to do this more conveniently. Okay, so StreamYard is the best overall. I tested out like 4 of them. Okay, so if you say Restream, I tested that one out. Blocks, I think it was Blocks or something like that. They don't have all of the features that you see here. What you see on this, I'm doing this through the mobile device. I'm doing this through a desktop. You can hit the corner.
Yeah, I usually do mine through a laptop. Occasionally, I will do something over the phone, but not very often.
Mm-hmm. So so we have been talking for quite some time. I forgot who you are too much here, because we don't talk that much.
I don't generally give out my name when I'm doing a podcast. Too much risk. Oh, well, actually, I mean, the guy I warned you about, right? That particular individual, he won't have any hesitation at all to out either you or I if he gets in, and he's probably not. And there's going to be more and more though, because I mean, if you want to talk about general subjects, I mean, there's going to be more guys like Martino as the group get bigger. And I've been doing some numbers. I don't know what it's been like for you in terms of people joining your group, but in terms of the numbers of people that have been joining the groups that I admin in the last month, it's been jumped up by a factor of 5 or 6. Now, I don't know what it's been like for you, but the numbers were all, I mean, just the MGTOW, not talking about the Manosphere in general, but just MGTOW was adding the equivalent of it. For relative purposes, I don't know if you know how big an army division is, between about 12 and 15,000 people a month. That's the growth rate that MGTOW had before all this started. And it's gone up by a factor of about 4 to 6, depending upon what you cover and whatever, in the last month or so. Mm-hmm. So, and that's just MGTOW. That's not the Manosphere in general. All right. Like the Manosphere in general has been adding the equivalent of, in North America, it was before all this started here, before all the riots and everything started. It was adding the equivalent of an army group, which is about 120,000 people every 4 months. Okay. And now it's adding that in less than a month. So yeah, to say that you've hopped in and started doing this at a good time is an understatement. I mean, as long as you're willing to put in the time and the effort and keep consistently podcasting and putting out a decent product.
As a matter of fact, do you really know who I am? Have you been keeping track of my
I've heard of
information?
you, but I don't know exactly who you are. But yeah, if you continuously if you keep putting out a good
So
product,
let me tell you who I am. Let me tell you who I am. I'm the creator of the Emerald Pill. Okay, Emerald Pill. You know, the pill
yeah,
itself.
I've posted on your site number of times. Yes.
And also, I tried to start it with the platinum pill, but then I read the Emerald tablets and shit, and then I realized that okay, I wanted to start my own pill. Okay? This pill is basically a Renaissance pill. Okay, it's more like a pimp alpha pimp pill. Okay, and it's the Oz pill. It's a Batman's pill. Hey, you making noise while I'm doing videos, huh, baby? What did I tell you? Okay, you're gonna have to be quiet now. Okay. Yeah, I'm the only one. I'm the only prodigy so far to talk about the pimpology. The pimping is not completely dead, but of course, I don't condone pimping because that's like a womanizing thing. Overall, the Emerald Pill represents a reading from a Renaissance, learning about all sorts of things. We don't complain. I don't complain about women, and I try to tell guys to encourage themselves to become gods. Okay, have no fear in your life. Okay, it's not a black pill. It's not a purple pill. It's a pill where you already know the psychology of women overall and also the law, because there's a lot of guys very few guys who know about the Emerald Pill, but naturally they would, what the hell is it? Sometimes I got messengers coming up on here giving me messages. People don't know about the pill, so they don't spread it because they're afraid of it. And like I said before, what I consider MGTOW and red pill, they're okay for the manosphere, but when you complain about women too much, that shows a weakness. That shows a problem.
Yeah.
And
There's
also,
a process. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. If you were going to continue on, there's a process of discovery you're familiar with. You're familiar. Like you've seen the movie The Matrix, right?
Yes, it's a beautiful movie.
Yeah. Okay. There's
fact,
that scene. There's that
on that movie. Okay,
yeah. And this actually in that movie when he first discovers what he actually is. Like there's that transition period between when you actually get the information and when you fully process the information. Now the typical word for it is in our community is otherwise known as the red pill rage. But in actuality, there's psychological models for it. I did a whole series on one of the models that was used for that called the Kubler-Ross model. And there's others out there that explain the process. There's the actual, and have you ever listened to a YouTuber by the name of Thinking Ape?
Yeah, I watched him on the YouTube. I see him.
Yeah, Thinking Ape. He defines the red pill, and I mean, yeah, and your green pill falls under the same category. It's information.
Well,
Right?
I don't know if it falls off the my pill. Okay, nothing really falls. It's very unique. No one copies off my style. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's regardless of what the style approach is, it's still information, and it still requires a period of processing. Right, that period, and given the growth not just of MGTOW but of the manosphere in general, there is going to be, the overwhelming majority of the overwhelming majority of the people who are in our sphere right now are still processing the information that we're giving them. Right, when they come out the other side of it and they become actualized and they figure out what they need to do for themselves, which is probably at this point something like 3% of all the men in our sphere at this point, then they've worked through the rage and they figured out what they want to do for themselves. It's basically for people like you and I who've already gone through that process to more or less kind of point them in the right direction. Like it's not like, for instance, you and I both know that it's not a very
Okay, let me speak here. This topic for today, today's topic will be about some things that we can talk about. We're going to talk about Richard Spencer, Marcus Garvey, and also a combination of Eugenics. And the type of person I am, as the Red Pillar King, I talk about multiple subjects. We do not just talk about.
That's what I do too. So
I do not really focus on the manosphere too much. I focus on other topics, which keeps our mind focus on other different things rather than just the women, because women are easy. Okay.
I do too.
Okay.
So
Women are easy. in the 80s, I was raised in the 80s during the Pimp game and the crack epidemic in Brooklyn, New York, because no one is like me. I'm a prodigy who traveled to Ethiopia. I do a lot of counseling for people who are overseas. I talk to people from Bangladesh to India to China to Canada to UK. I talk to a lot of people, man. And I try to keep my numbers down because I don't want to get pulled off the air because of my articulation or incoherence ability, because Alex Jones got pulled off. You got David Icke who got pulled off. You got Master Farrakhan who got pulled off. Okay, and I got videos to back up everything I say. Okay, I try to keep my numbers down because I don't want to get too popular with the masses. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And you are one of the rare individuals that I've encountered, okay, in my Facebook, because we know each other through the Mason Messenger app, and we met each other in the mysterious universal purposes. I don't know. I'm an indigo child. I have schizoaffective. Okay, I'm a schizoaffective individual. I consider myself as Schizologist, a word I made up. Okay, just like other people make up words, I can do the same thing. But of course, we're going to talk about that too. I want to talk about something that you want to talk about. So if you want to continue, you can continue on.
Yeah, yeah, well, I mean, I would kind of like to know what exactly the topics are.
Okay,
today's topic will be
about, you know who Richard Spencer is?
Yeah, I know who Richard Spencer is. I think his relevance has kind of decreased. He represents. I wouldn't even.
Alt-right.
Yeah, he represents the alt-right. I mean, when the alt-right first made an appearance back around, I can't remember specifically when it first during the election, when just around the 2016 election when Hillary Clinton first mentioned it. I looked into it a little bit, and that particular faction of the they kind of that they ended up basically they ended up getting controlled by the far right, the equivalent of the far left, which is with people that you and I have stood. And I mean, they just went completely off the rails. Well, the specific thing I remember about Richard Spencer is that Andy Warski was doing these debates, and he was inviting Richard Spencer on to debate other conservatives, and it went well for a while. And then Spencer's followers started sending threatening messages to the people who were debating Spencer on the Warski War Games, and Warski had to just pull it because it was like. And by the way, this was alt-righters doing this to conservatives, right? Much less people who are my political centrists like me and whatever. I don't have. Yeah. The really disturbing part about Richard Spencer and some of the stuff that he talks about and some of the stuff that the deplorables talk about is that to a certain degree, the tracks are parallel up to a point, and then they diverge massively, because when you start getting into, pointing out stuff like, say, white privilege and whatever, right? Okay. Like that's one thing, but when you start getting into actual eugenics, and it's like, I mean, they Richard Spencer's followers really especially go right off the fucking rails when it comes to things like the Jews. And like I say, I don't know. I've never really gotten into the whole race thing. I find the race thing to be a little bit, actually not a little bit, like, based on what I'm seeing right now, a lot divisive. But I mean,
do you think? Let me ask you a question here. Do you think, because I read up on Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X, okay, who believe in dividing, okay, and separation, okay, but those individuals got assassinated. Not Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was actually in cahoots with the KKK, and the Jewish individuals stopped him from cahooting with the KKK. This is what I read, and they extradited him from the United States. Marcus Garvey wanted separation, of the races, okay, just as much as Malcolm X as well. But things interfere with that type of process. Okay, And, every time I listen, when I was listening to Richard Spencer speak, he's speaking a lot of stuff, which was based on fundamentals. And I agree with most of what he said. The only problem is
actually, he has a lot of good points. They get lost in a lot of the other stuff, though, right? I mean, another guy who you might have heard of, Roosh V, he has made some really valid points over the years. Those also get lost because he gets into political and cultural dogma, and his points, the ones that he does make, and he has made quite a few of them, they get drowned out because it's sort of like, you have to kind of like take what you like and leave the rest. And if you're going to look at it in terms of dogma, then you're going to go off the rails at some point, because dogma is an externally based validation and belief system, where it's opposed to where you develop your own belief system, based upon your personal experience, like respect everybody. Well, not respect everybody, but I mean, like treat everybody with courtesy and respect, but if they're going to be disrespectful, if they're going to be rude, if they're going to be dismissive or whatever, then you know what, like deserves like, right? But even like, no matter what type of philosophy you use, I mean, I've seen Tony Robbins stuff be used as an excuse to be abusive to people over the years. So it's like, any belief system taken to an extreme can be abusive and divisive. I mean, yeah, Richard Spencer has made some good points. I never really got into Richard Spencer because, for one, I'm not white, I'm Native American, right? Just basically the way, what really did it for me was when his followers just started, or his adherents started threatening and trying to intimidate the people that were going on the war ski with him, to try to intimidate, basically to try to thug and goon him, which is essentially what the left is currently doing now online. I mean, if you go online right now and you look, I mean, there's people specifically with BLM going, silence is consent. And you need to understand, where I live in Edmonton, BLM shut down the gay pride parade, right? Because they made a bunch of demands. Basically, they tried to extort the gay pride parade into, like, they wanted the parade this way, and their terms were completely and absolutely unacceptable. Oh yeah, and it was to the point where they actually, they shut down the pride parade.
Naruki, that's how you do it. Naruki, right? That's how you pronounce it.
Naruki 5. So I go by Naruki, but
okay, yeah. Naruki 5. Yeah, somebody might be joining this stream, so I just want you to be wary of that. I just want you to know that. Go ahead, continue.
Oh yeah, no, it's happened on my podcast before. So yeah.
Yeah, everybody who joins my stream, I just want you to know, everybody who joins my stream, I know them. Okay, so go ahead.
So yeah, there's, when you start getting into that.
Let me say one more thing. Whenever you do streams, never allow the public to try to join your stream, because it could be
I've made that mistake a couple times. I don't allow random. It's like when I first started out earlier on in this, I made the mistake of posting up the stream on a couple sites, and there's this one guy who used to jump on every once in a while, and he'd come on and start screaming Bible rhetoric all the time for about a minute or so before I would boot him off. It's about internal validation versus external validation.
I was on a friend stream, right? BLM, I think it was BML or something like that. I forgot his name, Josiah or something like that. And he had a good stream, and the next thing you know, somebody came on and they showed a picture of a dildo and the dick.
Oh yeah,
he couldn't show it. I said, "Oh my god, man, this is."
Yeah. There was a guy about a year and a half ago who came on. He didn't join the live stream, but he posted up in the chat, and he started posting up kiddie porn in the chat, and it was like, we had to delete him and delete all his content. That's something you're going to run into You know,
Mhm.
as you get bigger, there's going to be individuals that attempt to do stuff like that. I mean, it's
Oh yeah,
you know,
are you the one who was telling me about the guy who joined the Emerald Pill group? I booted him off.
yeah,
He was a troll. He was a
Stephen
troll.
Martino, yeah, actually, or Tom Tamlick, he goes, he has multiple, he has
Quiet,
multiple,
quiet, quiet.
he has multiple, he has multiple accounts, and he does that. I just had to warn another group about him because he used a different account to start spamming not your group but another group in the manosphere.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've tried talking to him a couple of times. It becomes very clear.
I talked to him. He's very pessimistic. He don't have a sense of charm. Like he'll ridicule everything you are. He's very critical about
Oh no,
stupid stuff.
Stephen Martino was his real name. He does have an actual real Facebook account. Uh he has no intention of listening. There's a lot of people out. Well, here's the thing, and this going back to the numbers situation that I was telling you about
Mhm.
earlier. There's almost like a critical mass point, because I mean you're talking about social human dynamics. I mean you have a group of about 6 to 12 friends that you're fairly close to, right?
Yep.
And then each of those guys also has a clique of about 6 to 12 friends. Uh, and again, you have to kind of like get into some math here, but what it more or less boils down to is that at about 1 to 1.5% of the fertile male population in a given country or in a given group. In this case, I use Canada and the United States. When it reaches 1 to 1.5% of the population, which is around 1.3 million, effectively what that means is though it's only a small percentage of the population, they effectively have somebody in everybody's, like everybody knows, everybody is just a step,
Are you
at
talking
least a
about
step.
networking right now? Are you talking about what
Yeah,
networking?
Everybody is a step
Let
removed
me
from
say one
somebody who
thing.
knows.
Okay, I just want people to know who Naroki is. Okay, because I want people to understand that I like people to give to one another because everyone's going to have a donation number or a donation box or something like that. And I'm going to post this information right after the stream. I want everybody also to know that I started a Patreon page. Of course, you can see it in the description as well when the time is right. Okay, Naroki. I'm sorry. Okay, Naroki 5. Can you tell them a little bit about yourself, the public?
Okay, I am a YouTuber and a YouTuber. I also work in the film industry and I have a day job. I've been more or less doing the online thing for about 5 years, but I've only been YouTubing more full time for probably a little over two, 2.5.
Okay. Can you hear me?
It was just a kind of an evolution for me. What it was, it started out. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Uh, for me, how it started out was back in 2013, which is the atheist equivalent of to the PC crowd. You saw the anti Gamergate crowd in Gamergate, or the NPCs that you hear about now, but they were called atheists and plus. And what they did is they stormed in online to literally all of the atheist sites online and pretty much more or less demanded what you're seeing the protesters demanding now, that you take a knee to their demands without question.
Mm-hmm.
And my response is, okay, so let me see if I understand this correctly. If it comes from a religious figure, or if it comes from a politician, I'm supposed to take out the scalpels and dissect. But if it comes from a feminist or a social justice warrior, I'm just supposed to accept it without question.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't going to do that. And I decided to start.
So, are you an atheist?
I'm not a hardcore atheist.
I
I'm
just
more of
want
a
people to understand this one thing too. Some mathematical equations change over time, and also
Oh, of
definitions
course.
change over time. I want people to understand the difference between an atheist, agnostic, and a theist. It's only going to be three things. Okay, we don't merge things together. Okay.
Okay,
I
well,
hear this.
if you wanted to go with the strict definition, then yeah, I'm an atheist.
Yeah,
But I mean, there's
you,
degrees
you
of
know,
atheist.
I'm gonna tell you the definition of atheist. I was raised during the early days of the '80s and before that. But what I hear about the atheist, you're completely closed minded to any probabilities or any possibility of stuff. Aliens, gods, pink unicorns, anything that ever exists that you have not seen. Since you're scientific, you focus only on the scientific aspect, and that is what a true atheist is. A person who's closed minded to probabilities and possibilities. That's the
Okay,
simplistic. Okay, and then the next step up is those individuals who are skeptics. I'm agnostic. I believe in everything through skepticism and theory and research. That's all I believe in. I believe in pink unicorns. They may exist in another universe, but I don't know if they're there. I'm not saying I know anything. I'm just saying possibly. We're gonna take some science. We're gonna do some research here. Now the last thing is theists. Those theists, they just believe. They disbelieve. They don't care like Jesus. People believe in religion. I just want people to understand once over time, that processes the definitions and meanings get blurred through liberalism, okay, and romanticized criticism. Okay, they try to merge these things, and I say you can't do that. You can't merge apples and oranges together. You can't merge those two. Okay? Unless it's
okay.
like you're trying to experiment another way. But now these days, people want to say they're agnostic atheists. I say, no, you can't be those two. Okay? Either you're a skeptic or you're not. Okay, which one? There's no percentage. Okay, it's just either you're a skeptic or you're
Well,
not.
there's something called the Hitchens scale. 0 being a complete and total fundamentalist religious believer, and 7 is like the atheist that you're describing, like the absolute close. It's almost like the horseshoe theory. You know, if you wanted to go with that scale, I'd probably be rating somewhere
Well,
around 5.
let me ask you a question. Do you believe in any possibility or probability of any gods or pink unicorns or aliens? Any possibility?
There's a whoa. There's definitely a possibility of
Oh,
that.
okay. So now you
I'm
are
not
agnostic.
some.
You can't be an atheist anymore. You're agnostic. That means you don't know, but you're agnostic now. Okay? You can't be an atheist. Atheists are completely closed to those areas. You're in the science department. As a matter of fact, atheists, there are secret individuals out there who are agnostic, and they are the ones who know the truth, but they're hidden, scattered throughout the world, who know the secret knowledge, and they have to keep it to themselves. Gnostic individuals know secret knowledge, and they're not supposed to be talking to the public, okay? But sometimes they do run their mouths and stuff, But other than that, everyone got their own perspectives. Okay? But you go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so yeah, that's how it started off, and there was a group, and yeah, I decided, okay, you know what, I will start out with doing a blog, which is a written form, which actually still exists. I'm in the process of actually changing it around because there's been this idea in the manosphere, which I won't get into here because it would take too long. But I started out with just a straight up written blog, and but for 2015, that's what I did. And in 2016, 2017, I went through the most difficult period in my adult life.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out towards the end of it. I just decided, like if pardon the language, if the shit's just going to keep flying at me, then I might as well just go ahead and do what I'm going to do and damn the torpedoes, right? So I just said, okay, I contacted a friend of mine and says, okay, let's just start streaming on YouTube, because I'd already made a few YouTube videos up to that point. And there's also, I won't, like I say, the whole thing that happened in 2016, 2017, we could do a whole show on. What I can tell you about that period of my life, though, is that as difficult and as painful as it was, including a really serious breakup with a woman, I was able to
I think about it. Anytime we break up, there's an easy way of killing them bitches off. Okay? I don't. I'm really ruthless on women. Okay, you know. I know.
The way I broke up with her was I took the broadsword. I absolutely severed it. Like I cut it off. But I mean, it's like you still feel what you feel, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, I over what happened is that I decided about 2 or 3 weeks after that breakup that I was going, because this happened in 2016. I wasn't going to allow that summer and what she did to be the defining moment of that summer. When I say, for instance, when I get to say 2021 or 2022 and I talk about 2016, I want to talk about the blog I'm doing and the website that I'm running and the YouTube stream that I've got going, right?
Okay.
I don't want to be talking. I don't want to be talking about the breakup, right? And that's what I set out to do. And it took me a while because 2017 I was economically I was just in the garbage bin, and I it got through it, and then 2017 is when I started streaming on a regular basis, and it's more or less, yeah, it's been pretty much steady ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started streaming. I started doing the blogging stuff on all the way through MySpace. You remember MySpace before Facebook?
Oh my God, that's the Stone Ages, dude.
I know, right? And I thought, yo, this is the shit. Okay, back in those days. Okay, and I was writing shit. I was putting porn. As a matter of fact, you know, it wasn't that strict as Facebook. You could put pornography upon it, man.
I saw porn on MySpace.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, God, it's hard to believe that site is actually still up and running, but it is.
It's not as efficient as it was before. And I was oh shit, because you get paid from that. I wish Zuckerberg start thinking about helping people who are he's feeding off the. I think Zuckerberg should get sued because he should pay his people who's using their Facebook, because he takes their information and he advertises throughout a process. And I think everybody should be getting paid. That's too much money, man.
Have you just heard? Because it literally came out. It came out literally like while I was waiting for this podcast to start.
Mm-hmm. What happened?
Project Veritas. There was a leak in Project Veritas. The Facebook HR. Somebody got a hold of a document from downloaded and sent it to Project Veritas, where Project Veritas, Facebook, it's saying that they only will hire, they give preference to overseas immigrants from Japan or China in hiring for the HR department. And then Facebook goes back to Project Veritas and says that's not a legitimate document. And then they keep hold of their content and what their contact is saying. Well, if it's not a legitimate document, then why are you bringing employees in to your security department and giving them the gears? And literally just before the show started, I'll have to take a look here because I haven't got they fired somebody at Facebook, the person who would have been directly responsible for the leak. They literally it just came out on the news, just came out on Project Veritas.
So what we're talking about here is a process of how people are being robbed in the background, or are we talking about Zuckerberg is doing some illegal stuff?
Oh, well, it's illegal. You can't, you have to, by the law. Yeah. Her name is Leslie Brown. She's the senior HR business director. She got fired literally it was confirmed about 40 minutes ago while I was waiting to do the stream with you. They're basically giving preference to non-American citizens for jobs in the Bay, when the Bay Area is, well, it's like every other place right now. There's a lot of people available in the Bay Area for those jobs.
Oh.
This just literally came out here. Project Veritas uploaded, confirmed, Facebook senior HR business partner Leslie Brown fired following Project Veritas video. It came out 38 minutes ago.
Oh, I just hope that if they do get caught up in this shit, you know, they all get caught, that Facebook or Zuckerberg start to wake up and start paying the American fellow citizens rather than starting to doing this ethnic. He does this ethnic algorithm in the background, and that's kind of annoying. I think he should just let everybody do what they want to do, and then actually create a different segments. I think he would make much more money and help other people. Just like kind of like you ever heard of Anchor FM podcast? Anchor.fm.
No, I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, you can actually get paid for doing podcasts on there.
Interesting.
Yes, yeah.
How effective is it?
Anchor.fm, and then I got podcasts on there. As I said before, I started a Patreon. I'm gonna link every that stuff. People who pay, whoever, because I talk about interesting topics no one really talks about. Okay, as I told you before, you know, I don't like to talk like everybody else. I like mine to be different and unique in my own fashion. But I think that if people start paying their customers, which is we the people, we don't even need jobs anymore. It will just go around in a circle. Okay, it will just go around in a circle. Nobody will be poor anymore if everybody just started up an internet cafe or Facebook or even a MySpace, and then do advertising, do advertisement. It's like a money level marketing type of thing, you know. And if he's doing that all for the people, you know, he should get back some of that money. You get what I'm saying?
That's yeah. Well, the whole Silicon Valley oligarchy is in trouble. It's going to depend on how this new election goes. But Trump, this is something that happened again just before this whole thing with George Floyd exploded. Trump had announced that he was going to start cracking. I think he's going to be taking Twitter and YouTube and Google and Facebook to task because they're acting like publishers, not platforms, you know, and they're using Section 230 protection to say, oh, well, we're a platform, you can't sue us. Well, then if you're a platform, then you can't censor the content that you produce. So basically, it's like the stuff that you and I can do. Like they can't censor it. They can't even use algorithms to bury it. It's basically,
and you know the thing is that when I be on Facebook, I see individuals like Alex Jones. He had done nothing wrong. I see Louis Farrakhan, okay, and I see David Icke, especially he didn't do nothing wrong. And nobody really knows these individuals. And then you got Cherry as gods and anybody who's writing books or talking about conspiracies, and then they get pulled off. And I'm like, yo, they get millions of subscribers. And I'm like, who is in the background making the decision? Why is this information not being publicized? Right? Because whatever's happened to Alex Jones, for example, okay, the people should know, okay, right? So I'm like,
absolutely.
That's a portion of the people that you're taking away their voice. And so when people will say I have a mental illness, okay, and when I speak, and then people point at my video or someone who's in the HR department, like, yo, this person is kind of goofy. I think we're going to try to tag him or reduce his viewership. Okay, this got to stop. That's what Alex Jones is attacking right now. He's doing that in the background. I know he's doing it because freedom of speech is in danger. And I keep telling people, I even tried to talk to Zuckerberg. I said, yo, man, you know, he mentioned in one of his news articles, I see he's trying to fight for freedom of speech, but I don't know if he's telling the truth or not, because I'm still getting blocked for posting a simple picture like the Georgia Stonehenge or some shit. I got pulled up for 7 days for posting a picture of Georgia Stonehenge, man. Okay, I'm like, I got pulled off because I said the word hilarious on someone else's text, okay, someone else's article or some shit like that. That's preposterous, man. It's fucking preposterous, man. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. The whole situation with, I mean, yeah, that's going to get settled. I mean, there's the reason why you're seeing, I mean, this is the speculation, what we've been doing on our podcast. What you're seeing right now, and this has been pointed out, like the way the riots just seem to almost like spring up out of nowhere, and how bricks and stuff was convenient.
Hey, let me ask you a question about this. Let me ask you, don't you think that those guys who are out there are actors? Because I'm thinking that this whole shebang with this fucking George Floyd, I swear to God, man, it's a fucking stage. They're paying a certain amount. You got to watch Bill Gates and all that vaccination and all that other bullshit too, man. You only need to get paid a certain amount of money. Then you'll see, this stage is this full of mockery. I'm trying to tell you, this media is crazy. I think people should just focus.
It's
Oh
very
my
rare
God.
that I will accept anything from the mainstream media.
Okay. You know, I'm thinking this whole thing is people, they're getting paid. Everything you saw on TV with that George Floyd, I'm like, the dude, you checked his background. You check his background, you know he's in
Oh, I mean, holding a gun to the belly of a pregnant woman. It's like, wow, man. I mean, that one gets buried. That one gets buried.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you got individuals where Black lives do matter in a situation, and then white lives do matter in a situation, and blue lives matter in a situation. But nobody talks about the blue lives. Okay, nobody really talks about it. Okay, but I say all lives matter when I see a situation like that. I get upset when I see something, you know, representing Black lives matter, and that's not how it's supposed to work. You know what I'm saying? When you have a Black officer or a sheriff who was 72 years who get gunned down, but nobody want to activate Black Lives Matter there. You know what I'm saying? And black on black crime is still existing, okay, since only to the 80s, man. But they want to put the Black Lives Matter on that, and that doesn't make any kind of sense to me, man. That's preposterous to me. And then we still got blacks in jail because of racism, and Obama didn't do nothing about it, okay? And then it's not even investigated. That's why we got the Innocent Project and shit going around. But nobody talking about those Negroes that's in jail right now, incarcerated simply because of racism. And that's fucked up because just a few years ago, a guy just got released because of racism, simply because of racism. And it's sad. It's fucking sad, man. All because he was Black, okay? But people want to do Black Lives Matter on George Floyd and Nipsey Hussle type individuals. Those are criminals. Those are fucking criminals. I'm sorry, motherfuckers, okay? Niggas be coming after me. Sometimes some niggas come into my inbox talking to me like, yo. And I just want to get the video, but they don't have a video. It's always about somebody hiding their face. The coward's always the ones hiding their face, you know. But I got something. I ain't got nothing to hide. Okay, I'm just an entertainer. Okay. But go ahead.
Oh, well, you know, people are going. I mean, for instance, while you're busy talking to me here, I'm discussing the fact that COVID, for instance, and this should come as no surprise because it's been about 2 weeks since the riots really took off, right? And the numbers are, surprise, starting to go back up again, specifically in the 20 to 30-year-old bracket. And I'm seeing levels of denial of fact that are just absolutely like, you know, like you have the riots and the numbers start going up, and it's like there's one guy who's like screaming at me on my home Facebook page, like saying, well, those numbers aren't supposed to go up for a couple weeks. And it's like, well, it doesn't, like, it's not like it's like a wall. Like, it's not like all of a sudden you go 2 weeks after and it just shoots up like a rocket, right? Like the numbers will gradually go up for a couple of weeks, and then they'll top off, and then they'll start to go back down again. It's like a wave, right? You know, so the fact that the numbers are already starting to go up and it's not quite 2 weeks since the riot is not a surprise. But the number of people.
Well, let me ask you a question here. Why don't nobody talk about the influenza and the flus? Okay, this is 30 to 60,000 a year die from it. So nobody's taking analyzation. They're not kind of analyzing the comparisons between between 30 and 60,000 people die from the flu, right? Mm-hmm. So have 60,000 people died in America so far, okay, right?
Oh, there's been at the start, there's a guy by the name of Thunderfoot who came out with an estimation of how many people were going to die. He did it for the world, but basically he concentrated on the United States, and he said this was going to be the approximate number of people who were going to die from the flu this year.
I'm talking about like in the articles, if you read the research, you find out people died of the flu, the 60,000 years. Why ain't nobody talking about that in the news? Right? Because people are getting vaccinated. And I believe that the vaccinations actually cause the flu, and people are already good. They already have the COVID. It's a setup. That's why I tell people to stay away from the goddamn vaccinations. It's just called the setup. And when you get those vaccinations, eventually one thing will lead to another, and they'll use that against you in the future. Then I've been telling people about this stuff. You don't know what's in that vaccination, and you don't even know. You already know the vaccine says, okay, it doesn't help all ethnic groups. You know for the fact that it causes autism. You know by the fact that it causes death, certain percentages. You already know that, okay? So why would you take it? Why you could have a bacterium in your body or virus in your body, and basically, and then you not even know what's going on because you're ignorant. You don't do any anecdotal research on yourself. You don't do none of it. You're not a herpetologist. You don't deal in herbs. You just automatically believe, and the media is destroying people. Okay, so I'm just confused of why people don't want to talk about the flu, and then now we only see numbers of the COVID on the media.
Yeah,
Now,
well, that person can only the mainstream media can only is they're selective in what they choose to cover, right? Like you and I both know that, like the Noam Chomsky manufacturing consent model is the one that the mainstream media has been using probably since the late 60s. They still like to think that they're the opinion makers, but I mean, it's like the whole thing is beginning to break down because it's sort of like, if you want to get your info, it's like a double-edged sword though, right? You can get your information from elsewhere, but it's like then you get the situation where you're getting conflicting information. You can create a false narrative a lot more easily too. So yeah, so for instance, this whole thing with COVID, like the numbers are on the rise, and some of the people that I'm dealing with are like saying, "Oh, well, that's because they opened up the stores too soon." And it's like, okay, well then maybe you could like to explain to me why the numbers are rising in this specific age demographic. Because if it was all the stores reopening, it would be across the board. Like it would be affecting everybody, not just a specific age demographic. So, but it's easy for them to do that because most people weren't trained to, or just are simply too lazy, or just simply don't have the time to go in and start peeling away, or they're just not curious to peel away the layers to take a look at what's going on. Right. So, and people are going to believe what they want to believe, right? Like if somebody fervently believes that there's going to be a rapture. In fact, this is something that I remember because there was supposed to be a rapture event a few years ago, right? And there were people who literally sold off everything they had and went to this compound because they thought that there was going to be a rapture on this day and nothing happened, right? And I'm like,
well, guess what? Listen to this. That kind of reminds me of the cult leader, the Heaven's Gate. Okay.
Oh,
they
Fred
covered
Phelps,
themselves.
yes.
And I'm like, I can't believe people are falling for that because they're so depressed. I can't believe people are falling for that. But people you got to put their heart in the media somewhere. I don't understand it, but I do understand it. It's just to me too many so much ignorance and so much bliss. Okay, it baffles me because I know I wasn't raised that way just to believe everything I see. I remember my mom told me it's snowing outside, right? And there's a war coming. And I got scared as fuck, okay? I said, I would have stayed with my mother's house. I was a kid when my mom told me it's snowing outside, it's about to be a war. And I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? But I said, oh, mama, I'm going to die. And then I'm like, then I realized that it was a lie. All of it was lies. The 2000 thing, remember the 2000K, 2K thing? And it scared the shit out of people. It's like the computers are going to turn over and all things are going to malfunction. Planes is going to fall out of the air. Okay, hey, well, I know better than to believe in any form of media or even any form of religion. Okay, I learned that when I was 7 years old, man. Other than that, I just say I think it's a eugenics name. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a eugenics name?
A eugenics?
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I don't know a lot about eugenics. The eugenics that I am familiar with is the early stuff that was done back in the teens and the 20s, and specifically in Germany, because Nazi Germany always gets a lot of coverage in history, right? And the eugenics stuff, in fact, a lot of people are kind of shocked to find out that a lot of even the base for a lot of the genetic work that's being conducted today, a lot of it was actually formulated in the 30s in Germany. How much of it, like they took a race-based approach to it, right?
Mhm.
But I have not looked into it that much to
let
really
me tell you something. Why I
comment
learned
on it.
about eugenics, I found out that certain genes cause individuals. This study has been done in the 1800s. I think it was 1800s, but they had to cease it because of racism and future dealings. Because if you think about it, the flaw with eugenics, if you want to separate people in different boxes and stuff like that, one will be jealous of the other. This narrow it down right here. We're gonna be alpha about this. We're gonna stay right there, okay? And let's say you have your peoples doing your thing, because back in between the 50s and 60s was a golden age in America, right? But nothing but white people was just coming out, and then they was having to go all the time. Women was in the house, da 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 da. Okay, but what happens is that they're unhappy. The women was unhappy, okay, and then you got blacks who are also unhappy, okay. Then you got the illuminated ones who are basically they need more money, so they cause this war to occur. If you separate them, one will always outdo the other. Someone will always want something from someone over there, and this is why we have the old heads, okay, from the ancient times, the dark ages. They said now we are going to start merging. We're going to start mixed breeding. Now we're going to start doing the mixed breeding because if you're too white, okay, you get what I'm saying, then that becomes boring. If you get too black, that can become destructive. Okay, you see what I'm saying? You got to merge,
Mhm.
and it seems like this. The odd one out, like Native Americans, they're like blacks are worth $2 trillion. Okay, right? But then what happened to the Native Americans? Okay, so it's all about being extinct, like the dodo. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you have no quality or no benefit. Look, what happened to the Mexicans? And nobody really is advertising Mexicans or Native Americans, even though Native Americans been on this continent of North America, right? So it's like the strongest is the fittest. The race that has better characteristics live longer, right? And then you got to think about other races that's not human, right? And everybody don't even think about aliens and shapeshifters and stuff like I do, okay, right? So I'm kind of confused of why people you can't do this separation of church and state and race bait, okay? You can't do it, okay? And that was around there. I just rhymed this shit, okay? Okay, if you try to separate it, somebody will become more jealous or someone will become more hateful. Like the Black Panther. You seen that Black Panther movie? Okay, where they had that hippie
Yeah,
city.
it was a good movie.
Go ahead.
I did a video on Black Panther, which talked about the race baiting that was taking place in order to sell that movie, which was unnecessary because Black Panther had the legs to do well as a movie on its own without having to necessarily resort to that type of thing.
Okay.
So the Yeah, however, there was a bunch of there were certain things in that movie. It's a comic book movie, right? You know,
Mhm.
they threw out cultural scientific reality to just make a movie there. So I mean, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it, right? You know, I
I
didn't
gave
want to
that
read
movie like
any
a
more
seven though. It wasn't
thing
dark
more
enough.
into it. I give it about a so I give it about a 6.5, 7. It was a
I
decent
give it a
movie.
seven. The only dark. See, this is what I knew that Stanley was in trouble because when he made that movie called The Yin Game, okay, the Infinity Wars, man, I was like, yo, what the hell is going on? There's only two Marvel movies that I really appreciated, and I gave like above a seven, okay, and that was Captain America: Winter Soldier, and also that last one with Thanos when he first came out and he snapped everybody away. Because you know how dark comic books are, right? You're a comic book
Mhm.
fan, okay? Are you a comic book fan?
I'm not. I just don't have time for comics anymore. But yeah,
Mhm.
no, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s on the comic books. So yeah, that was basically the comic golden age.
Hmm. Yeah, my friend, my white friend, okay, his name is Chuck. He comes on here sometimes, and he has a very, to me, the more stronger your genetics is, the better your memory or better creative, the more charming, or it's something about you that's more prominent than everybody else. Okay, because I'm not an NPC. I'm not a non-playable character. If you talk to me, you see my wise eyebrow, I'm gonna look at you like, "Yeah, that's kind of stupid, motherfucker." Okay, yeah, not. Okay, when you know for a fact that all religion is folly. Okay, and then you have these individuals who are basically have these better IQs, which basically equivalates to me as memory. That's all it is. And basically, when you have all these abilities, because I read a lot of books and knowledge, and I told you I was raised in the '80s, and when you come across individuals who know a lot of knowledge, they'll always be pulled down by those who don't even have any knowledge, which is called the massive asses. This is why I don't do like I don't try to put my shit out there. You get what I'm saying? I'm kind of fearful in a way, okay, because I don't want people to just, I know who he is. No. You don't know me. You got to be special to be knowing me, okay? And I talk to so many people in my inbox, and I very much appreciate us talking to
Naroki.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, it's gonna get some time. If the more I talk to you, the more I'll know your name. Okay. I get a lot of people coming on my streams. They want me on their radio show. I get on their radio show. I'm not getting paid. I'm not gonna keep coming on your radio show. I'm not gonna get paid. And I was like, this guy wanted me to come on his show all of the time. He don't watch none of my. He watches some of my videos though. His name is Phil Anderton and shit. He has a radio talk show of over.
I've heard of him. Yeah, I've got a regular group of people that I do shows with as well.
He says do you believe that he's CIA? I don't know. He's killer ass.
I don't. I haven't. I've never watched his show. I know
he's a radio show. He's a radio talk show. He's a radio show.
Yeah, I haven't seen his show. So I really can't comment one way or another on it. Like I say, I've only got so much time in the day, and I've got a lot of stuff on my plate. So, so I don't. Is he or is he not? I don't know. I don't have enough information.
Well, I'll send you his information once we get off of here, though. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I only do like an hour streams though at a time. And unless I get multiple people, the more people come on and they ask more questions or they got topics, this is like down the rabbit hole type shit, okay? Because I said before, if I'm a prodigy, what am I prodigy in? Okay, you ask the questions, you'll learn a lot if you just ask questions, okay? Like I ask you certain questions, and I understand, and I talk to you, and I hear what you have to say, and I very much appreciate you start showing up on my show. I hope we can do it again whenever you want, or any topic you want to talk about, okay? Check it out.
Yeah. I just like I say, I don't. The guy you're just mentioning, I don't know enough. I've heard of him, but I've never seen his show. And I only have so, like I would say, everybody's got their own personal taste in what they like and like to watch. I mean, I've just never gotten around to watching his show. I really can't comment up on whether he's a CIA. I mean, I remember people saying that Alex Jones was a Mossad agent at one point. Again, right?
Ooh.
I don't have a dog in that fight for one. So is he or is he not? I don't know. I don't know. It's not really relevant to what I'm doing in my life. So it's like, but I mean, again, right? I mean, this thing that's going on right now, specifically with men, in regards to what's going on in society, having seen where the manosphere is going in its entirety, like I'm shocked and somewhat amazed to find out, for instance, that the manosphere, like MGTOW, for instance, has made inroads in places I didn't even think it would be humanly possible for it to make inroads, like China and the Middle East.
Where does MGTOW originate from? I know that the Black Lives Matter.
Actually, I know. I actually know. So I actually talked to one of the people who actually started MGTOW.
Okay.
I actually downloaded the site, the chat soap board that I got this information from no longer exists. But the MGTOW the original MGTOW manifesto, which in very few ways resembles what MGTOW is now, was actually written back in 2000 and was actually posted up in 2001. There was a whole series of events which culminated around the Duke Lacrosse event, and they actually met not in Columbia, South Carolina, but there's another town about 2.5 hours down the road. They met there in 2007, and it was just basically 6 to 10 guys in a bar saying, just they sat down and compared notes, and it's sort of like, well, it's even at that point, like the numbers were starting to the numbers were starting to grow, and say, well, should we actually call ourselves something? And it's sort of like, so yeah, it started probably shortly after the Duke lacrosse incident. And it basically just started out with 6 to 10 guys meeting in a bar. I think it was in Greenville, North Carolina, and deciding, well, what do we want to call ourselves?
It wasn't created by no homosexuals.
No, oh God, well, no. That is a myth that really has to be dissolved, right?
They said that the Black Lives Matter was created by 2 lesbians, though. Okay.
I have no idea I have no idea of the history of BLM, so I really can't comment. But no, MGTOW is in regards to relationships with women, not with other men. So, I mean, there's not really, you can't even say it's homophobic, because, I mean, it's not even really relevant to a man that's gay, because MGTOW involves the dynamics and the interactions between men and women, not between other men.
The thing I don't like about some MGTOW guys who will basically say they're homosexual, but I'm MGTOW. I'm like, where did they come up with these concepts?
Well, they might be bisexual,
but it's not bisexual. I knew that it wasn't bisexual. I said, no, you can't be homosexual and MGTOW at the same time. Can you?
No. Well, okay, we actually did it because I have encountered this, and it's like, what? And I'm like, okay, if you take a look at the marriage situation, now, is it physically possible that a man getting shafted in a divorce, one of the men could get shafted in a divorce, could cause a guy to want to boycott, a gay man to want to boycott marriage? So, yeah, in that respect, yeah, but I can think of I can think of groups that are much more appropriate than MGTOW for a guy, for a homosexual man that gets shafted in divorce to go to, because I mean, like the three.
Do you think that happened? Do you think that happened?
Do I think that there have been gay men that have been shafted in a divorce with another gay man? Oh yeah.
MGTOW was created again.
No. The original version of MGTOW was more of a trad con type of situation, and it kind of evolved. Well, what ended up happening is, from my understanding, is that Duke lacrosse was kind of like a cathartic moment for the manosphere in general.
Remind me again of who Duke lacrosse is.
Duke lacrosse. It was a woman. I can't remember her name. This Jesus, Destiny. Fuck, I can't remember her name right now. She was an African American woman. She hung out with a bunch of guys from the Duke lacrosse team, Duke University lacrosse team, and she.
But who is Duke lacrosse?
Duke lacrosse is a sport similar to ice hockey, except it's played with I played it as a kid. You got this long stick with a hoop on the end of it, with a net in it, and there's a big, huge, hard rubber ball, and you basically try to score on it's similar to hockey and soccer. You try to score on one end or the other. It's full contact. Contact. So they're
on a horse hitting a ball, right?
No, they're not on a horse. They run around on a field with a large stick and a ball. Their aim is to try to get that ball into the opponent's net. It's similar to ice hockey. It was a sport invented by Native Americans. It's one of the it's the national sport of Canada.
Mm-hmm. Information. I need to look that up. Okay.
Yeah, lacrosse is a very it's a lacrosse team, and I can't. Jesus Christ, I can't. I'm gonna have to take a look at. I'm gonna have to get the name here, but she claimed that members of the Duke lacrosse team raped her. And the story went viral, and there was a guy running there was a guy, Mike Wilfong, I think his name was. He was Crystal Magnum, that was her name, and he took that event and he used it, even though the accusation by Crystal Magnum started falling apart within 24 hours of the accusation being made. Like, it was really obvious that these lacrosse players hadn't done anything. Mike Wilfong ran with the story and tried to claim that these players were guilty. Basically, he used
defamating their character.
Yeah, he basically took a false accusation and he used it to prop up his own political purposes. And the story just kind of like blew up way out of proportion. And these guys, these 4 players that were in the center of this, ended up having their they basically ended up having their college careers and their lives just basically turned upside down from it. And it finally had to get to the point where the sheriff had to go, these kids didn't do it. But the situation was that somebody ran with it. And like the guys who, I think one of the key people who started MGTOW lived in that area. And I don't know the full story, but they all decided to meet in this bar, not in Columbia, but in the city where the other major city in North Carolina. And they got together and said, well, what are we going to call ourselves? And they decided to go on MGTOW. It's on my other computer where the history of MGTOW has been downloaded, but no, none of these guys were gay. The initial part of it, the initial idea of MGTOW was to reestablish kind of like a TradCon model, which I don't think honestly works anymore, because the technology has made the 50s and 60s kind of TradCon model not really applicable anymore. Just people have too many options, right? And that's how it got started. It's also, I have to point out that AVFM and the modern men's rights movement also began to get steam after the Duke lacrosse incident. Hello? Oh, you're. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. You fell off. Here, I'm gonna put the Wikipedia article. Keep in mind, Wikipedia is not the best source of information on a lot of stuff, but it's got the basics of it. I'm putting in the private chat here, so you'll be able to take a look at the article. Yeah. So yeah,
you can send it to me in my inbox as we talk. You can give it to me later. Okay. Just remember. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hold it and save it and print it. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sending it to you on your Facebook.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Sending it to you as a message on Facebook as well. Yeah, that's where the modern manosphere got started. PUA. Mm-hmm. All of the groups that you associate with the modern manosphere, PUA, Red Pill, MGTOW, men's rights, father's rights, all of those groups, all of them began to take steam after Duke lacrosse.
Okay, I received
it. It was an absolutely cathartic moment. And then you got to the next event, which was Donglegate, which happened in 2013. Donglegate was sort of like, did you ever see the movie Rocky? I think it's Rocky 4, where he fights Ivan Drago. Okay, so yeah, you remember when he first gets into the ring with Ivan Drago, and for the first couple of rounds, Ivan Drago is just beating the living shit out of him.
You talking about the Russian?
Yeah, the Russian guy. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the second round, Balboa gets that shot in that stings him right at the end of the second round. And that was what Donglegate was for the manosphere. Because up to that point, feminism had basically more or less had an uninterrupted sphere. Nobody had delivered a shot.
Have you seen the Netflix movie? Have you seen the Netflix movies? How They See Us?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't seen it.
That's based off of 3 kids that was during the time of racism. Okay, and basically these little kids was coerced by the cops and shit. And so it was a terrible situation, but that's how the Innocent Project occurred again. There's a lot of innocent guys in jail because of false accusations because of women. And I'm always for the fathers' rights movements and activists for men's rights as well. Because I truly strongly believe that men are more likely to be the victims these days now than it was in the past. Because this is very important, especially for white peoples. And other than that, okay, when the crackers being offended, okay, I know don't take offense to it. And
No,
I said the word nigger too, and nigger, it doesn't offend me at all. Names don't hurt me or nothing like that, but you know how people get sensitive and stuff. The word nigger don't mean shit to me. The word cracker don't mean shit. It's just name calling, or and it's just a derogatory words that's slang or metaphors again. And sometimes people take offense to those things, but they shouldn't take offense to those things. All this stuff is going to pass over. Everything is temporary. But I truly believe that it's all going to come back as karma anyway and bite those bitches in the ass. There's so many guys I saw in jail, and they shouldn't have been there in the first place, all because of hearsay. I wish they take that shit out of courts, man. I wish they take that hearsay shit out of the courts.
Oh, well, I mean, the way it's been working is that there's an area that the manosphere has actually made some progress in. It has been in the area of child custody and that type of in that area, mostly because you know, what really has been going on. This is what we're in right now is the Renaissance times about 1,000, right? The establishment has simply lost the ability to control the information, right? Like if you don't have to take your news from the mainstream media. You don't have to if you want to find out about an event anywhere, you can basically go online right now and you can type it in. You don't even have to restrict yourself to Google. You can go to DuckDuckGo, you can go to the Brave browser, you can go to there's multiple different browsers you can go into, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can get the information that you need. And during the Renaissance, the church was literally sending out intellectual riot police to universities to try to shut things down. And they were literally doing this. Oddly enough, they were doing the same thing that they're trying to do now, right? They were trying to like smash up printing presses and get these club bandits. It is literally exactly the same thing they're doing now.
They're doing that in Japan too, man. That's kind of fucked up because there's a lot of racism going on over there.
Oh, dude. I mean,
oh my God.
Want to talk? I grew up in I'm from Vancouver, and I can tell you, without a doubt, the single most racist group of people that I have ever encountered have been the Chinese. You know, everyone talks about how bad the whites are, and
nobody never talks about the Arabs though. Nobody talks about Arabs either.
Yeah, the Arabs can be pretty bad too. But everyone talks about. I mean, like the single most bigoted, and I know because I mean, like the Chinese in Chinatown. Like if you ain't Chinese, a lot of places, like it's like they can't ban you from their restaurants, but if you go into their restaurants in Chinatown, a lot of these places, you'll get shitty service and that type of thing, right? Like I mean, they are. Yeah, anybody talks about how bad the whites are. Well, I mean, you heard about did you hear about what the Chinese were doing to the blacks in China when Wuhan broke out? Yeah, they were deporting them.
They would try to blame them like they are the cause and shit. So they was like, oh no, you're all out in the street, and I don't know why this. Don't give them some build something for them. Like, at least be calm and courteous. But I'm like, Jesus, they put them on the streets, man. They're in the streets right now. I think a portion of them are from Nigeria and a couple other little places. And I saw a couple, like 3 Chinese people trying to beat on one guy. Okay, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I seen videos, okay, but other than I was telling people all the time, it's not just crackers, it's those spics out there. Wait.
Oh no!
right up there with the racist too. Okay?
Oh yeah, they're
oh
racism
my God,
is not something exclusively limited. It's not something just limited to Caucasians. You know, it's everywhere. I mean, I've encountered, well, regardless of what ethnic group they belong to, they're usually pretty despicable people, regardless of which race they happen to belong to, right? And it's like, I mean, you know, ultimately, and this is something that has occurred because of COVID. I mean, people are beginning, like, viruses don't have an ethnic preference, they don't have a political opinion, they don't have a social opinion. Viruses' full aim is to just simply reproduce and survive. That's what a virus does. It doesn't care what race you're, it doesn't care what your political affiliation is, it doesn't care whether you're rich or poor, doesn't care what social economic, doesn't care what your religion is, doesn't care about any of that stuff, right? It's like, if you're gonna get a virus, if you're gonna get the flu, it doesn't care about that stuff. It doesn't even have the physics, doesn't even have the memory to do that. It just reproduces and survives by being a parasite in your body and using the cells in your body to reproduce itself.
Okay. So thank you very much. That's some very interesting topics we just talked about today. It's been an hour and 15 minutes now. Okay. I got to take care of my daughters and send them back to my mother's
yeah,
house.
It's been an interesting conversation.
I got so much more I want to talk about, but you know, I got to limit it because if my wife calls right now, my audio would cut out. Okay, so I had to somehow, you know, when you use the phone and you're trying to use StreamYard, which is the best, okay, because they do charge a hefty fee to use their services, and I'm like, okay, I could pretty much understand why it's called professional, because I like to break all that little technical stuff down, meticulous, and on the corners here, they don't have it on the other. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, some of them like Restream. If you have a laptop, it's efficient, but they don't have all the little markers and the banners and stuff, and the brand tags and all stuff. Everything is on this screen. I can see everything from the private chat to the comment section. If it goes in, I can see everything here.
Oh yeah.
But this is it's very professionally done. But the others are not today. But other guy, we will have another discussion if you would like to start one.
Oh yeah, yeah. By all means, like I say, we have to plan it out a couple days in advance.
Gotcha.
If you like I say, we start our the regular Red Pill Nation hangout. We started at 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock Central Time, which is probably a little late for you.
Well, just send it to me. I'll come on the show sometime.
Yeah, if you want to come on the show sometime, let me know. If you want to come on, say, and do something on my show, do an interview on my show, because I wouldn't mind knowing your history a little bit, then by all means, let's do it. But I mean, if you want to end up, you finish today, that's great, man. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Of course. Thank you very much for showing up today. I appreciate it. I'll post your information. You know, is there anything else?
Well, don't put up my personal Facebook profile. Put up the WordPress account. Put up the YouTube account, and the Patreon, and that would be it.
Oh, you didn't send me your Patreon, because that's what I wanted.
I did send you. Yeah, yes, I did send it to you. Oh, no, that's right. I sent you my PayPal. Okay, yeah. I'll take care of that. I'll take care of that after the show. I'll send you the stuff that you can post up. Yeah, let me know when you want to come on. We can arrange a time.
Yeah, so you don't want me to post your just post your name and that's it, right? You don't want me to post your Facebook?
Like the YouTube account, Naroki5. Post that. Don't post up my personal name. Like, don't post up my direct Facebook account.
Okay, gotcha.
Like my Facebook page. Like, you know. I will send you the YouTube and Patreon accounts and the Subscribe Star. By the way, dude, I strongly advise that you also start a Subscribe Star account as well.
Patreon. As a matter of fact, as I said before, I started a Patreon. I'm not doing too much. I don't want to be a high profile individual.
Yeah.
Okay. There's certain elite individuals I'm focused on. I'm not focused on the masses, but I definitely hearing what you're saying. I already started a Patreon. It's there.
Yeah, I strongly advise you start a Subscribe Star. They're not because Patreon is part of the whole Silicon Valley oligarchy, and they have kicked people off of Patreon for not buying into the orthodoxy, so to speak. Whereas Subscribe Star is not based in Silicon Valley, and they won't boot you off unless you do something like criminal.
Okay, so send me that information. What's
Okay,
it called?
I'll send you the links here. Are we done for today?
Yeah, pretty much. Just tell me just send me the information, and of course, it's nice talking to you. I'll just post your name right here, Naroki5, and your Patreon once you send it to me.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yep. All right. I'll have a nice day. I gotta get going here too. So man, I hope you're having a good one. Best of luck to you and your daughter, and I will talk to you later.
Okay. Peace to you.
Yep.
So, do you understand? I'm not your average man. I'm not your Peter Pan. And as cringy as it sounds, I only have a certain amount of individuals that I try to stream and come on their shows and stuff like that. But of course, we talk about anything and everything down the rabbit hole. It's just not one thing, just not the manosphere. It's just not racism. It's just not eugenics. It's just not psychology. It's just not all these other stuff. Okay. Life is short, okay? We have to have fun and talk about multiple things and be as frantic as possible. And especially y'all guys got to start showing your face, okay? You shouldn't be afraid. But I understand that there are people who may be targeting you, but no one can target you. Because goddamn it, I tell you right now, I know magic. And I'm an invincible motherfucker until I lose this body. When I lose this goddamn body, I'm gonna become a demiurge god, right? Say right. Say hello, brothers and sisters, huh? I love you all, but what?
And I need pizza today.
Oh, she wants pizza today. She wants pizza today. Oh my goodness! But if y'all want to know anything about other countries and how I travel to Ethiopia and abroad, just ask questions, okay? And I will post basically this stream on the internet, and I'll post his name and I'll post his Patreon. And of course, when he sends me the Patreon, I love you all, but I hate the many of you. Okay, all right. Remember this, okay? And of course, I love animals more than humans, but I don't fuck the animals. And y'all have on this motherfucking day, okay? Peace.